Brené Brown has done over 2 decades of research on shame resilience, and she has revealed that vulnerability is the antidote to shame. The only way to live authentically is to combat our shame with vulnerability because it demonstrates that we accept who we are. So when you meet somebody who's vulnerable, it's really refreshing because we live in a society where everybody is guarded because they haven't processed their internalized shame. But you have to beware because narcissistic and toxic people will fake vulnerability as a manipulation tactic to play on your empathy. You need to understand that this is not a genuine expression of vulnerability. So how the fuck do you know the difference? Here are some ways that my ex faked vulnerability. And if you're new to my page, my name is Jackie and I'm giving real examples of emotional abuse tactics so that you can spot them in your relationships. Abusers or toxic people will exaggerate hardships or stories of personal struggle to play the victim. When we first met, my ex tooted a very convincing story that he was falsely accused of domestic violence, which explained the limited access to his kids, the ongoing custody battle, the financial hardships, the no contact order, the court-ordered DV course. And his friends and his family supported this narrative, so it was very easy to believe. But when I would ask about his role in the breakdown of the marriage, his only response was that he was too trusting. But I found this odd because I believe that our relationships are mirrors and they reflect back to us the things that we need to learn about ourselves. So even though I've been victimized by a narcissistic person, I do not identify as a victim. I identify as a recovering codependent people pleaser with poor boundaries. I own my part in that dynamic. So be very leery of somebody who only paints themselves as a victim. These people will often fake emotional distress. When we were living together, I started to notice money going missing from my daughter's piggy bank. Despite many conversations with my ex thinking it could be his kids or the neighbor kids, the money continued to go missing. Because he struggled with finances, I had this visceral feeling that it could be him, but I didn't want to outwardly accuse him. And honestly, I didn't want to admit it to myself. After he moved out, the thieving stopped. But once we reconciled and he was spending a little bit more time back at the house, money started going missing again. This time, I flat out asked him, "Was it you?" He drove all the way to my house, showed up with tears streaming down his face. How could I possibly think that it was him? "I love your daughter and I would never steal from her." Watch out for declarations of self-pity when you try to call them out on their crappy behavior. "I'm a horrible person. I can't do anything right. You would be better off without me." Whether they're truly self-loathing or they are using this as a manipulation tool, the outcome is still the same. They are not taking accountability for their crappy behavior and they are feigning incompetence as an excuse. If that is truly how somebody feels inside, there is nothing that you can do to fix it, so don't let them play on your empathy. Sharing stories, crocodile tears, declarations of self-pity is not vulnerability. Authentic vulnerability is demonstrated in the little moments to gain connection, and it's given freely, not in the big moments to evade accountability.